Alright, we're going to do a real good test of the parking brake here. So we're decoupled. We're still cruising in about 19 meters per second. I'm going to go ahead and tap speed limiter parking brake. There he goes. It's slowing us down. Full velocity lock.
Hold tight. We'll start to transfer your cargo.
Best workaround I've seen, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Ballplan. Now we're back in our civvies, and I wanted to take a quick second, guys, to let you know that if you want to run around like this, like the idea of living in your ship more comfortably, different clothing items actually have different storage capacities. These K7 pants can carry 3K micro SCUs, so I've got room for some magazines, 2 drinks, which if you know, you know, and enough room for some med pens and detox, as well as being able to carry a multi-tool and a firearm on your hip. So it's a nice way to, you know, stay well stocked up on the essentials. That way you don't have to keep going to lockers to get food and drink or whatever. So yeah, pay attention to the carrying capacity of your clothing. That way you can see what best suits you. Alright, the rest of this should be pretty straightforward for the most part. A lot of the workarounds or issues in the past have reduced quite a bit to being really like 1 or 2 things that I've noticed a lot of folks letting me know in live streams or in the comment section. But let's first talk about what you can and cannot do in the Hull C, or at least where your limitations are. You guys might have seen my video, Trade is Dead. And unfortunately, a lot of folks mistook that for the Hull C is dead. It's not the case. The Hull C is fantastic. I mean, you can make well over 2 million an hour in this ship doing contracts. The point of that video, Trade is Dead, is literally trading commodities. And what I mean by that is that your standard way of buying commodities from one place, where you have to go inside, send it to your ship to get the auto load function to work, and all this hinges around the auto load function. I'll address the way you can do trading in just a second, but the way you need to go about the process of getting the commodities on your ship is currently broken because of the Hull C spawning in your hangar extended, and you have to store the ship to get the station to recognize the ship so you can do the auto load. Now, what a lot of you might be thinking already, you can do it manually. Yes, if you want to take the time to do it manually, you absolutely can. You can send it to the station, you can go out to the cargo external freight elevators, pull it all onto your ship, and then go to the next one and do the same. Now, that being said, you can only do that with external freight elevators, which gets into another key component with the Hull C. One way that you can tell if a station has one, just for an easy search, is to actually have the station put in here, like Nick's Gateway, for example. Unfortunately, just because of reasons with the map, I'm not able to scroll here like you normally are able to. But this symbol with the crate right here, this symbol means that there is an external cargo system, external freight elevators, a cargo center where you can auto load and offload the Hull C for calling contracts, or do the manual load and offload for trading commodities. Commodities has always been a bit of a risk-reward system depending on what you're buying, where you're going, and what level of threat you're willing to accept as a potential. But this symbol right here is how you can tell if the station does or does not have a cargo center. As an example, if we typed in like Crew L1, that symbol's not there. These little boxes are here, and I can't remember what exactly those are for because I can't scroll, but like weapons shop, I think that's the refinery symbol. I think this might be ship's weapons. There's vehicle services, docking, collar capabilities, hangars, but you don't have the freight elevator symbol, which is the single big crate. And just in case anybody missed it, though, you can go back in the video. I'll just show you, like Bygenie Point has it right here. So Seraphim Station, Bygenie Point, Port Tressler, Everest Harbor, Pyro, and Nick's Gateways, they all have these sort of external freight elevators for you to use your Hull C. Thankfully, a lot of people in the comments of the Trade is Dead video understood that you can do things manually. You just, instead of sending it to the station or the ship, you send it to the station and use those freight elevator systems. If you happen to be at a station that doesn't have a cargo center and you're stubborn and want to use your Hull C anyway, you can do ship-to-ship stuff, which is a completely different monster. I've got a couple videos on that. Now, getting into what you can do, if you hop into contracts, you will see your hauling missions. Now, the best way to make money in Stanton with the Hull C is by doing the stellar contracts. You look for the experienced rank. It's going to be the 162s, the 136s, and the ones that are right around 250k, usually a little bit less. Unfortunately, senior and master rank missions don't really cater to the Hull C at all. This one that's 263k, it's a multiple drop-off. I would avoid that just because these contracts that have multiple pickups and multiple drop-offs tend to be the ones that break the most. You can take care of some of this issue by doing the manual offloading, and hopefully it registers everything correctly. You don't have to worry about losing rep now when you hit submit. If it's not a full order, you just take a certain pay hit depending on how much you turn in. But these right here, we're right around 247, 248, 245K. These are the main point-to-point missions that make you the money in the whole sea in Stanton. You can stack similar to this in Pyro at the experience level and above, even better, but you guys should go check out SC Haulers for that content. Sacks of Wine does a lot of really badass hauling out of Pyro and makes a lot more than I do in Stanton. I just haven't gotten my rep in Pyro up to that point yet. Eventually. But this is how you do it in Stanton side. You use a method that I call quantum route planning, where you, as you're like on your way, for example, to Seraphim Station to pick this up, or maybe even after you've gotten there, and you're going toward by Genie to drop off, you pull up your missions while you're in Quantum, which also reduces the amount that you're looking at because you're not next to a planet, and then you can decide the next place you want to go. So like right here, we got Everest Harbor to Seraphim Station, so there's actually kind of a chain there. Everest to Seraphim, Seraphim to Baijini, so let's go ahead and accept this one for demonstration purposes. The biggest key when you're doing these missions is to not go over capacity. 4608 is your capacity. Stay comfortably under that as you're stacking your missions point to point, and you should be alright. While we're on the way to this pickup, I want to go ahead and show you guys the workaround that I learned from my Orgmate ball plan on how to stay stationary when you're at the cargo center in the autoload grid trying to pull the cargo in. Go into your keybinds, advanced controls, and head over to flight movement. And then you're going to scroll down till you say speed limiter. Not acceleration limiter or anything else, but speed limiter. I have it set to the / key on my keyboard. Put it on whatever key binding you want, but this allows you to turn it on and off, and this has become my new technical parking brake. It is fantastic. Basically, instead of you having that potential drift moving around with your ship, it truly locks you in place because it's forcing the engines to maintain whatever speed limit you have enforced. So as you can imagine, you use the step down all the way to 0 to make the engines keep you at 0. As you can see here, using the left alt scroll up and down function, which you can see it moving over on my velocity indicator. So when it is on, it will engage, making sure that your system goes to 0. Alright, we've got 2 missions that we're going to drop at Seraphim Station, and it's going to put us close to full capacity, but we're comfortably under, so it should be fine. I, by habit, always head to the furthest most point in the cargo section of the station, which hopefully is really obvious right here. So wherever you end up calling the box, it's going to pop the box up kind of close to that spot. I come out all the way as far this way when I call one because we seem to have better luck with the grids that spawn along this zone. So that is one of the preventative workarounds, is get a box out here, not towards where other players are on the station, which tends to cause more issues in my experience and the experience of several other whole sea captains. We are definitely close enough to call a grid, so we're going to go ahead and request cargo loading, which I have bound to my stick, but it's right alt N. And give it a sec to pull up because there would normally be vocals going on in the background, but there currently isn't. They seem to have pulled most of the ATC stuff. Some stations seem to have it happening. If it doesn't work when you call it again. You can see it on my dash here, kind of popping up that it's doing the interface, or it's doing the communication with the station. Now sometimes you're just going to have to mash it. See, we still didn't get anything. That's fine. Double tap. There we go. We finally got it. We're going to pull in here, and this is another tip to help you guys not worry. You don't need to be parallel or lined up in some specific way. In fact, I'm going to line up towards our next pickup, which is going to be by Genie. So I'll be able to just quantum out of here as soon as we're done unloading our cargo. Now, I know we're drifting because I'm a decoupled flyer. I know we're going to end up right here inside. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my parking brake. And we're loading. I don't even have to go coupled. This works so well that you can stay decoupled, and it forces your ship to stay stationary. Do not turn off your engines, my friends. I know that some people think that that makes it to where you don't move. Well, I mean, in real life, yeah, if you have 0 velocity, truly 0 velocity, and you turn your engines off, you shouldn't move. But there's server desync. There's little issues that can randomly start causing your ship to drift in this game. Turning off your engines is a bad idea. You can also see here on our screen that the parking brake is active. It's that little white line with the square above your red zone where you're not moving. That's another way to tell that it's on or off. If you turn it off, that disappears. You'll notice that. Big shout out to Ballplan for this method. If you see him in the comments, or if he's in the comments, you know, give him a like, give him a thank you, because so far this technique has worked for me 10 times out of 10. And it might be one of the best workarounds for making sure that your ship is truly stationary, which is the most common thing I see in the comments. That usually I tell you to go coupled, which was my old way of saying the parking brake, maybe wiggle the throttle to get yourself to truly stop using the grid, and if that didn't work, to do the seat check. If we have to do the seat check today, we'll show it. I've talked about it and showed it in other videos. It simply means that if you are truly still, you know you're still, and it still says that you're moving, get out of your pilot seat. And then I bet the grid will disappear and you'll start loading cargo. It's been the other guaranteed fix for that particular problem. Now, on the very, very, very small chance that that does not work, the other workaround that I haven't had to do in a long time is to fly away about 10 kilometers, get out of Armistice, get the box revoked, and then come back in and call a new box. But if you fly the way that we do, getting the furthest most point and all, you shouldn't have that problem. Looks like we're full. We're good to go. Now, you're not going to be able to move. It's really a parking brake. I am on my throttle. You can pitch and roll, but you can't move until you kill your parking brake, and now we can take off. So I really enjoy it. The speed limiter, guys. Best workaround for being stationary that I have found yet, thanks to Ballplan. Okay, so another night side entry. All good. We're popping in on Bygenie now. I like to use my scanner as kind of like a sonar ping in a way, because it lights up the station. You can see exactly where you want to go. We're going to point our velocity vector this way towards the back of the station, like I said on the previous one. And we are going to full burn in. I typically put my vector right about here because it tends to be out of the way of any station buoys, because we are going to go in turn and burn style, expand style as some of you call it. We are set at about 360 meters a second. I like to make sure that we are nice and clear of any targets. You can also hold down F and scroll up to get a good idea of what's in front of you. We can also adjust our heading slightly after we have rotated. So since we're decoupled, our velocity carries on like it would in space in real life. So we're going to go ahead and rotate. And the reason for this, it's not just to look cool. It's not just to be like a TV show. It's because it's actual practicality in travel in space using physics. Our biggest, strongest engines are the back engines when you are loaded up in this ship. So you want to use those engines to slow down. All right, I'm going to move our vector slightly inward, just away from that serial number, because that is a station buoy or a turret. All right, and usually it's once we come into ATC zone, but I'm going to go ahead and burn. I think we might be burning a little late. We'll see. But slowing down with your forward thrusters, it takes so much longer because you don't have as much thrust. So this is an actual efficient, practical way to slow down a really heavy ship. And that's why you don't really want to go too much over 350 meters a second, because she's a big girl, man. She's got a lot of mass. Takes a lot of power to slow her down. We are still going about 60 meters a second, but that's kind of perfect. Let's go ahead and call the station. All right, so I am slowing down. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit my parking brake, which is, again, the speed limiter. Bam! And we are decoupled. This trick, again, it works as a stationary hold, even decoupled. And it is working so well. When we did the bed log, I ended up popping into an even lower population server. It's about 90 people right now. It's Asia Pacific Southeast, which I think is the Australian server. So the ping is a little bit longer, which is why loading the cargo might take just a little bit longer. Now, there isn't going to be a whole lot more to talk about after demonstrating these cargo onload and offloads, but I do want to let you guys know I have a playlist on the channel that is just whole sea stuff. So all of it, you know, showing what works, what doesn't work, how to do different cargo runs, how to work the ship. There's a lot of good information for you guys there. And again, please hit me up with all the comments down below on these videos so that I can help you better master this ship and how this system works. Because especially if you're new to Star Citizen, this game is huge, man. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of complexity. It is a simulation of space that, for the most part, once you kind of learn its quirks and its ins and outs, becomes pretty smooth. You know, we all kind of learn the things to avoid or how to preventatively get around some bugs we know that are going to come at us. The biggest one for the whole sea right now being the issue with trading, or honestly with docking and storing the ship at all. If you have cargo, it will currently pop up in a hangar extended, and you're screwed. The ship's gonna get destroyed. You can't get in or out of it. You can't take off. Even if you collapse the ship down, if you were to land with cargo collapsed, you're too heavy. You can't take off from 1G pads. So it's a major sticking point that some of you will probably already experienced, and some might learn the hard way. If you kind of want to test my theories, hey, go for it. Just don't spend a whole lot of money on cargo that you're willing, or that you are not willing to lose in those tests. You want to avoid at all costs getting impounded, your ship getting repositioned inside with cargo, or getting stored like that at all with your spindles extended. You want to make sure you collapse your ship. All right, let's go ahead and buzz out of here. So I've stopped outside of Crusader, about 40 or 50 megamics away, so you can see the full system here. That way you can maybe more quickly get to your destination or get around the planet, avoiding these very dangerous orbital maneuver nodes where pirates like to camp, especially the polar nodes 1 and 2. So you can go to one of the moons as a partial jump and then get to your destination. It looks like this is kind of behind the planet. It looks like you might be able to jump to it, but that may be a little risky because there is a physical barrier sometimes if you're too deep in the atmosphere that can cause bad things to happen. So what I'm gonna do is actually come out this way just to jump to the other side of Crusader and then head on down to Seraphim. So wait till you're kind of just past the planet, right about there. And you also have access now to the other moon. I think that's Yella. Yep. So now I can see that that is comfortably around the atmosphere of the planet. So we'll go ahead and shoot into it. So it's just one of those preventative measures to avoid getting interdicted and targeted by pirates. So this is a little bit of an awkward entry to the cargo area, but we are going to do our burn in, turn and burn style just to, you know, speed this process up. But I'm always looking at this vector to make sure I don't put it somewhere that it might bump into a station buoy or a turret, because that'll be a really quick way to end your session. So we are a lot more full, which took a lot more energy to get us up to even 160 meters a second. So I am going to get us up to about 220 and just cruise from there. And look at that, we got a buoy right in front of us, which is what I wanted to avoid. So I'm going to angle my velocity indicator a little bit down and away from that, and then we're going to start our turn and burn. I use a mix of zooming in with that precision mode and using the look behind key to be able to keep an eye on my vector and make sure that I'm not going to hit anything. You also don't want to risk going in between these rings, like through them. I've had some bad experiences with my ship blowing up doing that. Oh, and if you're wondering about this look behind technique, I'll show you real quick. Go into your settings, keybinds, advanced. It's up here at the very top, seats and operator modes. It's the third one down. You can bind it to whatever you want to look behind, because you can actually see your velocity indicator and all, and even move it if you want. So let's go ahead and go full burn. Might be a little late because I was showing you guys that little trick. Seraphim is one of the only stations where the whole, you know, go to the edge or the, you know, furthest back point isn't really good advice, because it doesn't really have that point.
Cargo services. Let me see what we got. Okay, here's your deck assignment.
Interesting. When I double tapped the cargo service request at Seraphim, I actually ended up getting the ATC to jump in. So that's kind of cool. All right. Now, this can be kind of a frustrating thing. You know, the color of Crusader in the background can sort of hide where this grid is. So you got to look around a bit. Wow, yeah, look at that. Completely blending in with the damn background until you get close enough to it. What a pain. Alright, we're going to do a real good test of the parking brake here. So we're decoupled. We're still cruising in at about 19 meters per second. I'm going to go ahead and tap speed limiter parking brake. There he goes. It's slowing us down. Full velocity lock.
Hold tight. We'll start to transfer your cargo.
Best workaround I've seen, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Ballplan. Alright, so she's going to start to offload the cargo. We'll see if both missions offload smoothly. We are racking in about 500k from just these two missions. And this is the method, just running between these stations, between the main ports where these cargo bays are. And you can rack up millions very quickly. I mean, I make over 2 million an hour doing this consistently, bouncing between the stations, stacking everything. Sometimes you do a mix of the 245s as well as your 132s and 160s, just to, you know, really maximize what you're hauling. You, again, just want to make sure you don't go over capacity. That's the biggest thing. So when you're by a planet as well, you're going to get more missions to look at, which can make it a little bit of a hassle. But yeah, these 162s, these are also going to the main ports. They're just smaller. So you can also make sure you're never deadheading. You're always going somewhere with cargo. Same with these 136s. Although I would avoid the double pickup and drop off ones, actually. So maybe not those. You know, operate at your own risk with those ones. You might have to take those external freight elevators up, or use the external freight elevators to avoid headache with those. But yeah, another 165 Port Tressler to Everest. So there's always kind of a cool way. This kind of completes the loop, because you can actually, well, actually we don't have anything going to Tressler right now, but I think you see what I mean. You can keep cycling between all these different ones. So that one's completed. Are we still offloading? Just going to take a quick peek. Yep, we're still offloading the next mission here. We're just kind of scattered all over the place. But it's working really well. I think that's pretty much all she wrote on the whole C for this video, guys. Yeah, we're pretty much done. What I will show you real quick is how I line up with the external freight elevators. I gotta kill my parking brake so I can move. Let's go ahead and collapse the ship because we are going to dock. I will demonstrate that as well for ending our session. But I did want to show you where I tend to park if I'm gonna use the external freight elevators to avoid any hiccups with impounding. Because again, that is the last thing you want to deal with.
And please visit again.
Okay, so here is one of the external freight elevators. Now, I think that these two markers, these interesting shapes here, I think these kind of point out the barrier that you want to be inside of, but I don't know for sure. It's these things right here. But what I do, regardless of that, is I get right up in front of the actual external freight elevator itself, and just not close enough that there might be some collision with the actual elevator, and then I will hit that parking brake. And this is about where I'll be. And I have not had any issue getting impounded being in front of the actual elevator like this. So you should be fine. Just avoid kind of drifting around or ending up outside of this to avoid your ship getting impounded, because that is a really quick way to end your session, because your whole C gets stored and then it ends up getting called extended in your hangar and you're screwed until they fix that problem, which the issue console will be in the description of this video as well. It's already confirmed by the devs, so we just got to wait for them to get off their holiday vacation and hopefully get that fixed real soon. All right, the last thing I'm going to do is demonstrate docking, because I've had that question before. So this will be a real quick example of how to easily dock. You can't really, like, sometimes I get close enough that it automatically clamps and engages. It kind of feels like a full manual experience, but for the most part, you want to get close enough and then hold N to auto dock. But I'll show you an easy way to get familiar with the docking interface. After many, many years of playing Kerbal Space Program, I actually really enjoy the hell out of docking spaceships. And this interface is very similar to one of the mods we used in Kerbal Space Program for docking. Come in at a direction where the docking node is easily visible. Don't get too close to it. You can zoom in to see. There's the extended arm. I'm putting my velocity indicator away just so we're not gonna crash into it or anything. And then I'm gonna slow down real good here, probably at about 15 meters a second or so, and kind of just inch my way closer and closer to it. I am not worried about the docking interface at all right now. I'm looking at the docking collar itself because I know where it needs to go. It's going to be this outside port that's currently open on your port side. So I'm heading towards it, which we can see right here. There it is. And once we get up next to it like this, now I can transition to looking at the actual interface. And what we've done, I will engage the parking brake just to show you guys some stuff. So the bottom right portion is your roll axis, and the other two are your pitch and yaw. So as you move, the indicator will turn red and move away in both directions. And even if you roll, it'll go off alignment. So you want to roll your ship and pitch and yaw to where you bring all of those together. However you end up liking to do that is up to you. It'll become more and more natural the more you do it, as you kind of get used to lining up with the docking collar, which you can kind of see over here. You guys have probably seen me use third-person view as well to do this, but we're going to go ahead and take off the parking brake. Now what I'm going to show you is this part. So your Z-axis will go down as you move forward. Your X-axis will go down as you move to the left closer, and your Y-axis is your above or below the docking collar itself. And you'll notice over here you got this little red box that's going to move in relation to what you're doing. I would try not to focus too much on any one thing. I would just try to get used to how it all feels as you're closing in. It can be really hard to see it all properly as well. Like on the X-axis, we are moving in pretty well. You can zoom in too to watch your Z-axis as it changes too. So we're moving forward towards it while we're moving in, and we're not moving up or down really much at all, which is good. And now as your Z-axis gets close to 0, you don't really want to move any more forward because that's you're aligned. 0 is aligned. You can see the red box getting bigger. I'm actually going to go ahead and engage the parking brake real quick just to stop it. You can actually interface with the parking brake a bit to kind of get closer to it, which is cool. I've never really messed with that much. We are really aligned as far as our forward position goes with the docking collar. And you can see right there, that's how you can see on that interface. Now we are a little bit above it, which you saw on the Y-axis with this. And then the X-axis is just how far out you are. That's just how those work. For me, honestly, at this point, you're already pretty much set. We need to come up a little bit. Not up, down. I'll use space brake a lot to kind of slow down that as well, but you can just hold N at this point to finish the process. which will clamp you to the station. I look forward to there being a more manual experience with that and really ironing out how close you get, how you align up, but it's fun. I enjoy the docking experience. It's very, very space trucker feeling, very sci-fi.
Docking complete. Engines off.
And then from here, you can reload, rearm, repair, all that stuff. Even if you're extended with cargo, just don't store the ship. You then use the same request for the dock to request departure. And the station will basically unclamp and turn your engines on, and once you're broken away, you just apply thrust to starboard to get further away from the station and go about your day. But that's it, guys. That was my update in 4.5 on how to use the Hull C, a bit more of an inclusive Hull C tour, methods for getting her to work properly and to be less frustrating for y'all. So I hope that that was useful. Again, hit me up with any questions or comments you got down below. Let me know if you like this video. I'm probably going to dice it up into maybe some shorter segmented videos like the ship's tour or the tips on being stationary. I think that'll do it for me. I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.